Welcome back to Occupy the Media. To join the conversation, call us at 877-575-FSTV. We've been focusing today's show on immigration issues. We want to know how immigrants are being treated in your community, so the lines are open. And with us right now is our good friend, Steve Rendall. He's the senior analyst with Fair.org, a media watchdog organization. How's it going there, Steve?
It's going very well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And so, Steve, we brought you on to talk about one of your really good friends, Fox News host Bill O'Reilly. I'm joking, by the way, who has never had anything nice to say about the Occupy movement. In fact, it's usually quite the opposite. And Steve, in a recent, very rambling edition of the O'Reilly Factor, Bill O'Reilly equated Occupy Wall Street protesters with terrorists. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we can watch a clip.
Well, our erstwhile hero from Fox was out for the night with I imagine it was his kids, and they went to see Jesus Christ Superstar on Broadway. And while he was there, and we only have this on his word, he was accosted by an Occupy activist who treated him rudely. There wasn't a lot of detail about
And so these are people that he accused of being, or just assumed were, Occupy Wall Street activists. And we actually have a video clip of O'Reilly claiming that Occupy are, quote, terrorists that attacked him. So check it out.
On Friday, I went to see a play called Jesus Christ Superstar on Broadway. I had 3 kids with me. When I left the theater, I was confronted by an Occupy Wall Street guy who was very obnoxious, came within inches of my face. I told him there were children present. He didn't care. Actually chased the car down the street. Now, that wasn't an accident. Somebody had seen me going in or in the theater, had texted the Occupy people who dispatched this guy to chase me down. Now, this is what's happening across the country, and I think people should know about it.
So you've heard enough from us. Now we want to hear from you. The number is 877-575-FSTV, or connect with us on our Facebook and Twitter pages. So this clip that we just saw, it's only a portion of this Bill O'Reilly clip. We're going to post the full clip on our Facebook page. But in it, Steve, Bill O'Reilly says that the Occupy Wall Street protesters that maybe accosted him, but equates them with being terrorists. Right. Is this just more rambling Bill O'Reilly speak? Should we just ignore this?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing. He helpfully pointed out that they weren't terrorists on an Al-Qaeda level. But he said that this sort of terrorist activity was going on from Occupy activists across the country. This is typical sort of demonizing the left that goes on Fox. But it plays into a larger media culture where Occupy activists are much more credibly, and I still put that in quotes, demonized. For instance, the Chicago case, where you have Occupy activists accused of plotting bombings, and you have the media credulously believing the officials when no evidence has been presented.
And so this, what you're referencing is this case in Chicago and the lead up to the Chicago NATO summit, and right. It's several activists were arrested. Right. It's a whole other can of worms that we'll dig into later. But Don, occupiers, activists as terrorists. Yeah. What do you think about that language?
Well, I think it's obviously an attempt to, as Steve pointed out, not only demonize the Occupy movement and Occupy protesters, but to cast the movement as a whole in terms of it being a terrorist type movement is extremely disturbing. This is perhaps the most patriotic movement that the United States has seen in many years. The demands of the 99%, the concerns and the issues of the Occupy movement are those of the vast majority of the American people. And so to characterize this as them as terrorists is, to quote George Will, who said over the weekend in describing Donald Trump, Bill O'Reilly is an bloviating ignoramus, to quote George Will.
You know, the other interesting point, too, is is that we had this case in Chicago where, you know, the mainstream media went out and said, oh, we think they're terrorists because that's what police said. And the same thing happened on May Day in Columbus, Ohio as well, when you had that, you know, that terrorist plot to blow up a bridge there.
Right.
And a lot of mainstream media were jumping on that. And, you know, what's coming out now is that we see that they were being followed for a while and that the FBI, like in the Chicago case, may have
planted the evidence.
Well, exactly.
But it almost seems like we're sort of mixing two separate issues. I mean, one, we're talking about cases that may or may not involve actual, you know, terrorist
I don't think we're mixing
plotting,
them at all,
but whether or not that's the case, what Bill O'Reilly was doing, Steve, was pretty much people who were just being, you know, having their First Amendment right, going out and speaking to him in a public place, not making any sort of violent gestures, but calling them terrorists.
Well, I think Bill O'Reilly might be the id. Fox News might be the id of the American media. He says what they're all thinking, what many of them are thinking, I should say. And that is, you can measure how threatened these elites feel by this movement, by the extremeness of their language. Listen to Bill O'Reilly talk about somebody who's apparently, from what we can tell, rude to him. That he claims
and Steve, we actually asked some of our Facebook friends, Bill O'Reilly recently used the term terrorist to describe Wall Street protesters. How do you feel about this? And Eric on Facebook writes, it just reminds me that obviously he is a member of the elite. Jamie writes, his remarks let me know that he knows absolutely nothing about OWS. And Rakisha says, it does not bother me. We are here to terrorize the corrupt for fairness and equality. So the lines are open right now. So if you want to get in a quick call, pick up the phone right now. But Steve, what should we make of this? I mean, is this a much bigger issue, or is this something that we should just dismiss as?
Well, it's all part of a larger cloth. I mean, Bill O'Reilly's thing is particularly extreme. He was, you know, he was treated rudely, maybe. Yeah. And this other case is very different, and we don't know the facts of it. We don't know if there's actual crime involved, but they are of a piece in that Bill O'Reilly is a guy that says whatever he wants to and is tolerated in the rest of the media. He goes on The View, he goes on the morning show, he goes on Letterman and says these crazy things.
Okay, and well, Steve, we're going to have to wrap it up, but to check out more of Steve's writing, go to fair.org. That's Fairness and Accuracy in Reporting. Thanks so much for joining us, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
All right, we're going to take another quick break, but we want to hear from you to join the conversation. Call us at 877-575-FSTV, post a comment on our Facebook page, or follow us on Twitter. Our topic today is immigrants' rights. We sent a camera crew out to hear what the 99% thinks about immigration in the U.S. Why has this subject become so heated over the last 5 years, and how can we resolve these issues?
I think that immigration has become a bigger topic because we've seen way more enforcement in the last 5 years. So in the last 4 years, we've deported over 1 million people.
With the economy turning and with kind of communities looking to place the blame on a certain group of people, we've really seen this influx of wanting to scapegoat immigrant communities. And so all of these anti-immigrant laws going into effect are really having dire consequences for our communities.
I think we just need our politicians to be serious about recognizing that families are here, that we're talking about people, and to do something that recognizes our values as Americans and recognizing the value of family, and do something positive.
Hello, I'm Antoinette June, and this is your Occupy update.
The Occupy Chicago Coalition Against Corporate Higher Education will be meeting on Sunday, June 10th from 2 to 4 p.m. For more information, visit occupychi.org.